Okay, yeah, I got my mark for my switch down here. The bottom of the nut is just a little bit above the top of the rear window relay. So I may end up putting the switch just right below the slot. So right in here, there's about a 5/8 or 3/4 inch slot down to about there. So I think that'll do the trick. And then clearanced out my slot a little bit so the wires aren't pinched. They've got a little bit of wiggle room there. The last thing I'll have to do is pull out the rear window module. I'll solder 2 wires onto the motor terminals and then bring that out on a short piece of wire with like a Dean's connector. So that'll have the 2 ends of the motor on one connector, and then I'll have 2 wires off of my terminal block down there. So I'll have a terminal block screwed on the inside of the panel there. I'll have to figure out where to put that so there's space behind it. 12 volts and ground, and put that on a wire and hook that to the switch. So doing a little more work on the side panel here. So I've got my rear window switch cut out there. The switch will connect to a pair of wires coming out of the relay module. It'll be pins 1 and 3, which are the 2 wires that go to the rear motor. And then I'll have a second wire that'll have 12 volts and ground. So I finally got a rear window switch wired up here. So this switch I have wired into the rear window relay module. So this is a Momentary double pole, double throw switch. And so the way I have it wired up, I have this wire coming out of the relay module, and I soldered those 2 wires to pins 4 and 5 inside the module. So it's the same 2 pins that I have the jumper wire connecting 4 and 11 and then 5 and 12. This switch is in parallel with the dash switch, and that's in parallel with the rear door or the tailgate key switch. And then all I did to, quote, power the thing, I have this wire here, and I just ran that back over to one of the factory ground points right there. So the switch just has ground and then the 2 switch terminals inside the relay module. Let's see, if I go here, this is up. And you can hear the relays clicking inside the module there. This was my plan A for doing this. I tried a second option that I thought would be really nice, and that would be hooking up to pins 1 and 3 instead of 4 and 5. Because 1 and 3 are the actual motor terminals, and I was thinking with this switch here, I could hook the switch to 12 volts and ground on the terminals, have 12 volts and ground hooked up across there, and then 12 volts and ground hooked up across there, and then I could apply voltage directly to the motor, and I would bypass the relay module. I tried that yesterday and it was a big fail. So I went back to plan A, and plan A works. But yeah, let's jump over to the computer screen and I'll show you inside how that relay module is wired and why you have to do the switch the way I did it. So stay tuned, and as always, thanks for watching.